like there are forces in Nigeria that refuse to open up or to accept new ways of doing things. So we just keep doing things. I mean, if you go to the civil service for some time, if you ever relate with government at some levels, they are still doing things they did it in 1960.
Okay, can I just stop you briefly there to go to our correspondent, Chris Elems? Remember, the coalition has started, and Chris is going to give us an idea of what's happening in Anambra State. Chris?
We are live from Amobia in Anambra State, where the Amobia Collation Center, where the results for the Anambra State Central Senatorial District are being compiled. Right now, we've had like 3 local government areas, Dunu Kofia, Njikoka, and of course Oka North. They've done their presentation, and of course, we are still expecting 4 more local government areas to do their presentation, being Anyocha, Ndemili, Oka South. They've not done their presentation. But right in the hall, you can see the returning officer is waiting for the other local government areas. And of course, some party agents are also present. But so far, we've had a cumulative figure of over 80,000 in a way. But one thing that worries, that bothers the returning officer, is the level of cancellation. And he feels that INEC might need to do so much more to ensure that a perfect voter registration exercise would minimize the level of cancelled votes. But across town, jubilant supporters of some of the candidates who presumably are leading their polls are already in a festivity mood. They're celebrating with the hope that the results would remain or would stand the way they presently are. But we're still waiting here, waiting for the other 4 local government areas, being Ndemili, Oke South, and Anyocha. They would be doing their presentation any moment from now. And as soon as they're done, then this place would be closed, and of course we'll move over to other areas. But for now, that is the situation of things right here at the Amobia Collation Center.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. That's Chris there in Amobia telling us about the coalition exercise there. The areas that have done their presentation, Jikoka and Oka North, and they're expecting any moment Anyocha and Ndemili and Oka South, and after which time the center will close. So that's just an update of what's happening in the southeast Anambra State. If you were listening out for your state, now you have heard it. And if you're just interested in how it's going in the southeast, we've brought it to you on Channels Television.
All right. Mr. Ekwano, back to you now. Now that Noroz looked at the bit of what owning the process, Chris has talked about the fact that they are bringing in the results all day today.
Sorry, Nyota, just before you go on, there's this news coming in, where the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, is alleging that one of its presidential campaign council spokespersons, Alhaji Buba Galadima, has been arrested by masked gunmen. The opposition party claims Mr. Galadima may have been arrested by operatives of the Department of State Services, the DSS. Mr. Galadima was said to have been picked up at the PDP Situation Room in Abuja, and his whereabouts, according to the party, are still unknown. Calls to the mobile phone of Mr. Galadima are not being answered. However, when Channels Television asked the DSS about Mr. Galadima, the security agency says they did not arrest the PDP spokesperson. That's just the update. Indications are that the PDP is alleging that one of its spokespersons, Alhaji Buba Galadima, has been arrested by what it described as masked gunmen. Somewhere later on in the statement, it alleges that the DSS may have been the ones who arrested him, a situation that the DSS has denied.
Okay, Mr. Gbondo, now that issue of strategy comes in here again, where almost at the close of business, which is about past 6 p.m., or past 7 p.m., just about 3 communities or 3 local governments results have been collated, not announced, and we're still expecting other ones. What does that say about the strategy, and does that mean ownership?
Okay, strategy.
Is INEC strategy?
Yeah, INEC strategy. I think over time we have been functioning in abnormality, and we allow what has been happening to be a standard, a norm. As a matter of fact, in this part of the world, we do what we call competitive analysis and not comparative analysis. Comparative analysis is driven by two things. One is the principle of best practice, and then your statement of intent. So if you want to do a comparative analysis, what's the best practice in terms of democracy? What is your statement of intent? You said you're going to give us a free, fair, and credible election. But here, we do competitive analysis in the sense that you say you're going to give us A and B, and then you do something, you're not able to meet your set objective, and then somehow you did better than somebody that did before you. You use that as an assessment point to say that you have done well. I think that is one of the things that we're facing now. If you say, how do we determine credibility in terms of an election process? It means everything has to be in place. We go into what I call a systemic shock, and this shock actually is an internal shock.
Can you just hold your thoughts there? We'll go on a quick break. When we'll come back, you tidy up on your thoughts. Do stay with us.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's The Verdict, reaching you live on Channels Television. Wherever you are in the world, we're reaching you live. And you're watching live election coverage. All the activities to do with the elections, from collation to the counting, and then to the results, finally, as we've all been waiting for. So if you've been, we've been inundated with calls and even messages on social media saying, when are we going to have the results? We're not INEC. We can only wait for INEC to announce. And then, of course, the moment we hear, you will hear as well. We've been getting messages from all those who've been asking to send us pictures from where you're watching Channels Television. What part of the world are you, and how do you watch us? So we've got messages from Togo, viewers also from Würzburg in Germany, Finland, Toronto, Canada, India, Japan, Indiana, and Reading in the UK, and all our every part of Nigeria as well. So it's great to know that we're reaching you wherever you are in the world as well. And don't forget that the hashtag is hashtag The Verdict, hashtag I voted, if you still want to show us your finger. And it is also hashtag, oh, that's Ladi. Oh, look at you. UAE. That means somebody's watching from the UAE. Fantastic.
Yes,
from the United Arab Emirates. Beautiful. And we also have this one from Germany.
I guess that's the Würzburg that you were mentioning earlier.
That's the Würzburg that we mentioned earlier on. And here's one from Finland as well. That person looks very relaxed, watching Channels Television, as you should be. And here's another one from Germany as well. And here we have one from Russia. That looks like Jide in the background. So indeed, we do have viewers from all over the world, China as well. I think that's the full crew. So fantastic. Do continue to send in to us so that we can know where we're reaching you from and how best we can
no further evidence that Channels is the news leader.
Definitely.
Yeah. We are passionate about the news. It's what we do. So we want to put it out there, balanced news coverage of the elections. That's what we're doing robustly. So we have our correspondents spread across the country. We also have correspondents outside the country who are also reaching out to Nigerians there to get their polls and find out how they're, what they're thinking about the elections. And some of them have sent in their comments. From Newark in USA, for instance, those ones came in early this morning. But we want you to know that we are with you and want to keep you informed. But you can watch us on all platforms. We are on YouTube Live, youtube.com/Channels Television. You can watch us on our mobile device, Channels TV or Channels 24 apps. You can watch us, download it from the iStore or from the Play Store. There you can watch us as you move along. But we're also live on satellite, on digital, terrestrial television, digital TV. So everywhere you turn, you can watch what's happening as we bring you updates about the elections. And talking about updates, our correspondent Larry
we're going to turn now to Yola in Adamawa State. Larry Lasisi did something for us. And
you have some time now.
Okay, thank you very much. I think INEC had 4 years to plan. They know what they want to do. They have probably carefully thought out what they want to do. when we're dealing with strategy, we're talking about purpose, and then we're talking about who are the people that you're going to use in accomplishing the purpose. And then we should be able to measure the success or the failings of what we're strategizing. And then the second thing that we have as an issue is strategy paradox. When you hit a wall, we have something here in Nigeria. We say, well, when we get to the bridge,
we'll cross
it. But a strategist does not think that way. A strategist plans to cross the river before he gets there. And then the other thing is the hazard perception. We must plan for hazards. Whether we like it or not, there are going to be skirmishes here and there. When I looked at, on the day of voting, in my own polling area, they were telling them when you want to thumbprint, you use your index finger. And I said, in voter education, it would have taken months to educate people on that. Nigeria is operating what we call, we're in between a parochial and subject political culture. We're not yet civic. So most of the people who are going to vote do not really understand the modus operandi, and we have not spent enough time to teach them on what to do in this regard.
Yeah, that's clear, because even when you look at when the pictures of voting was coming in, there was so much talk about how you must roll it up, fold it on both ends. I see some people just trying to even force it in, you know, full like that. So it ties into what you're saying.
Yeah, we need to model it, simplify, let people understand how these things run over time. Nobody gets to catch on to something that that comes just in a haste like that. You need time for it to sink down. And then we have to also look at the process of recruiting people. When we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about recruiting the electorate, getting the awareness, getting them to know about their rights as citizens of these nations in terms of voting. How well did we do that?
Do you think this? I'm sorry. Do you think this will have impact on the coalition?
Yeah,
and the speed with which it can be done. I mean,
definitely, sir. Definitely, it will have serious impact.
In what way?
Yeah, you already have the last speaker was talking about the happenings in different states.
That's right.
So this is a graduation of the same thing happening all over the states. So if we're having that in one election, is one problem too many in one election.
Okay, Naru, you're a human capital development person. So he said something, and it hit me, like, as I say, below the belt. Nigeria is operating a parochial and subject political system, not yet civic. At what point can we move from there? And where do we begin to change this kind of system?
Remember, it's been 20 years.
20 years.
You know, for me, it's interesting that we expect to see a different Nigeria when it comes to our politics. Let's take our football, for example. You guys, we all know what happens. The next game is a year away. We start preparing a week, 2. Yes?
Yes.
And, you know, money is released 24 hours too.
We pray.
Half of the money, we don't know where it goes. And then on the day of the football match, we then say, God, you know, we should win. So I don't know why we expect our budget, you know, comes out when, it's passed when. So we are Nigerians. I don't know how we expect that when it suddenly comes to politics, will be something else. I mean, which part of us, when you talk about, you know, the government and stuff like that, which part of us runs smoothly? Hello, anybody? So why would anybody think that when it comes to politics, suddenly, you know, INEC will come from the moon with a different mindset, with a different work culture, with a different attitude, etc., etc.? It's not going to happen. So until we go to the DNA, all right, as a people, how do we, you know, planning, you know, I mean, anybody out there who understands the basics of planning will be laughing at us. This is science. You know what I mean? It's not mysticism, it's science. Strategy, planning, etc. This is all science. You can actually, I mean, how did they get Osama bin Laden? Have you thought about that? It's planning. So until we, I mean, look at the way government itself runs. You know, they would say, oh, our budget is going to be ready. It's supposed to be ready by October. The first reading is in December. And then maybe it gets, you know, passed in March. And then we're told that, oh, don't worry, we'll extend its tenure. Yes, and we see this all the time. So how we expect that we'll suddenly behave like another group of human beings when it comes to politics is you know, beats me. So we must go back and begin to say to ourselves, what is the Nigerian culture? Let's begin to interrogate.
Where do we begin that? Where is the Nigerian culture? At what point is it?
Think about the question. Think about the question. Think about it. We're going on a break. Yeah. When we come back, you answer, because even the person asking the question seems to be positive about it.